conqueror? Are you a conqueror? Do you have victory? Do you have, or are you a victim? Or do you have stuff that's going on that you just can't get control of? Today was kind of an interesting morning. I was on my morning Zoom call that I think I've shared with you a little bit about. It's the core of the Roar Canada leadership team, and we get together to inspire and encourage. And just yesterday, we started with a new thing, and it's the word of the day. So the word of the day, it just comes up. Like it was just one of those things. Yesterday, if you were watching, the word was plethora. And so we have a plethora of ideas around how best to move each other forward and help each other to live in victory and to live from a place of conquering. And what we got present to this morning is that sometimes one or all of us that's in Roar Canada or at the Decker team in all spaces of my life, and yet this was a Roar Canada call, is sometimes we forget that we have the capacity and are already in fact a conqueror, because we've already conquered so many things in our lives. We've already proved it over and over and over again. And yet if you're anything like me or like my buddies, then we sometimes forget. And we sometimes get into a space where the things of life, the momentary things that maybe aren't so much fun or that are really maybe not fun, but very, very, very difficult, cause us to feel like we don't have victory, that we can't be a conqueror. So how do you get past that? So we got chatting about that this morning. So I'm going to share one or two of those thoughts with you. And then here's what I'm going to ask you to do, is to share your thoughts of how you move from maybe being repressed or not living in the fullness of victory and as a conqueror. And conqueror is simply that, to have victory. Have victory over the thing, whether it's an addiction or whether it's a habit or whether it's just the momentary frustrations in a particular day. So this is what we came up with. First is we would actually admit it to ourselves. First, we'd get present to that we were functioning that way. Because so often, if you're anything like me, well, maybe it's not often, sometimes. It happens at least, where I'm not even aware of the way I'm behaving or the way I'm processing things. So the first was awareness. That helped. So one of the gals got present to that maybe she was coming from that space. Well, maybe not. She was. So I'm calling her out. She knows who she is. And she go and love me anyway, because I did warn her that our new word of the day might just become an occasional part of the raw and reels. And so it's not raw and real. It's raw and real, as in authentic and vulnerable and out front and frank and all of that. Well, not like Frank, the guy Frank, but frankness. And so she knows this is happening, or at least has a clue that it's happening. And so she was starting to feel like she didn't have victory, that she wasn't a conqueror, and decided it's time to change that. So the first is awareness, which I love. And then the second thing we talked about was, where do we get then the strength to carry on? Does it come from God? Does it come from others that we're in relationship with? Does it come from within oneself? I think it can come from any of the three, provided we're willing to surrender ourselves to our Creator, our friend, or even ourselves. And so that was really step number 2. And so having the right friends, in this case, and she already chose the other 2 as well, helped her move forward. And then we kind of make it public. I mean, not public to the whole world so that it's like we can't, like they're thinking there's something wrong with us. Public to those that can support us. Public to those that can bring us along. So that's what we came up with this morning. So we are living as conquerors. We are stepping full force out into the victory and remembering the victories we've already had so that they can be a launching pad for those that are ahead. So what about you? What are your ways of moving past and moving through, and even maybe recognizing when you've stopped living as a conqueror and maybe started living in a little bit of victimhood? Because our goal, clearly mine, is to live from a place of power, conquering, and victory.